This is Radio Health Journal. I'm Nancy Benson. This week, can you deprive yourself of oxygen by wearing a mask?
What you're doing is you're exhaling into the mask and keeping your breath from going a long distance. And you're not so worried about the inhaling part.
Face masks and breathing when Radio Health Journal returns.
I'm Reed Pence, the producer and host of Radio Health Journal. If you like listening to Radio Health Journal, you'll also like our sister show, Viewpoints, which covers a wide array of topics, from education to history to the environment. Here's a preview of what they're covering this week on Viewpoints.
I think it is one of the most valuable and underrated things that you can get into.
Reaping the many benefits of growing your own produce. Then,
there's so much fear and anxiety and uncertainty in the world today. Boy, who would have thought that 2020 would be quite this kind of a year?
Facing the emotional roller coaster that is this year. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth this week on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
Listen to Radio Health Journal and Viewpoints on your favorite radio station. And subscribe and listen anytime on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Also, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Radio Health Journal.
Face masks are part of life these days, and it looks like they will be for the foreseeable future, at least until we have a vaccine for COVID-19. But some people have more than just a fashion or convenience objection to wearing face masks. They say masks smother them and make them lightheaded, like they're not getting enough air. A few people have even claimed they crash their cars due to mask-induced oxygen deprivation. But experts say if you're wearing a mask correctly, that should not happen.
I frankly don't think it's a great concern for most people. Most people who are wearing a mask are wearing a mask that's made of just common fabric, cotton, that people have put together to make just something to go over your face.
That's Dr. Bill Carroll, adjunct professor of chemistry at Indiana University and former president of the American Chemical Society.
The masks that most people are wearing are not going to be filtering out particles from the outside to any great extent. What they're mainly doing is they're trapping moisture droplets that the person wearing the mask is exhaling. And because that's the case, because you're not relying on that mask, or you shouldn't be relying on that mask to filter out all this stuff from the outside, it doesn't quite matter so much whether you have it fitting really tight to your face, because there's a lot of stuff that you're going to draw in through this loose weave of the cotton. So if you start from the idea, and if you wear a mask for any period of time, you know this because it gets a little moist. If you start from the idea that what you're doing is you're exhaling into the mask and keeping your breath from going a long distance, and you're not so worried about the inhaling part because there's not much that mask is going to do anyway.
Even after all this time wearing face masks, many people still have the misconception that a mask is meant to protect the person wearing it from the virus. In reality, your face mask is meant to protect other people from you, just in case you're infected. And Carol says it doesn't take that much to do the job.
This is what I use, is I have a nice Texas bandana that I tie around over the top of my nose, and it's open on the bottom. And that does the same job of blocking my capability to breathe on somebody close to me, because first of all, my breath goes into the cloth, but second, it also exhausts downward underneath it. And that's really all you're after, is to block that exhalation. Think about it this way. I mean, when you go out in the winter and it's a day you can see your breath, I mean, that gives you an indication of how, at least partially, how far your breath goes when you exhale. And what would happen to you when you were a little kid and you put your scarf over your face and you had to breathe through it? Well, your breath didn't go so far, and what's more, the scarf kind of got damp and froze up, didn't it? Did you ever have that experience? Well, that's kind of what you're after in this case.
However, wearing something other than a cloth mask can be entirely different. For example, the N95 mask, often worn by healthcare workers. It's designed to filter particles from the outside, and it's not meant for the general public.
N95 mask is meant to filter out 95% of particles of a certain size. And essentially what that means is the holes through which you're sucking the air are smaller. So think about it this way. Think about if you were a scuba diver and you had a regular size snorkel versus a snorkel the size of a soda straw. So it would be difficult for you to draw as much air through one soda straw as it would through a regular snorkel. And you'd probably need more of them in order to have an adequate supply of air. It's possible that some people wearing a tightly fitting N95 mask might find that it's a bit challenging to breathe.
About a month ago, you heard one of our guests talk about the difficulty of wearing an N95. Dr. Lucinda Halstead, medical director of the Evelyn Trammell Institute for Voice and Swallowing at the University of South Carolina.
I wear them. They're very hard to wear. There are studies that show that after about wearing them for an hour, the O2 saturation, because you're rebreathing your own oxygen, goes down and your CO2 inhalation and circulation in your body goes up. So by the end of the day, I usually have a headache.
People who have a number of medical conditions may also find their breathing constricted by a mask. For example, people who have COPD.
It once again depends on the mask. Because if what we're trying to do is wear a cloth mask to reduce the distance that droplets that we exhale go, then it really shouldn't be constraining your breathing very much. You're going to draw air in either through the mask or around the outside of the mask. Is really not that important. What's important is that you're breathing out through the mask. Now, an N95 or a respirator or even like self-contained breathing apparatus like a firefighter has, that can act differently for people who feel that they have or actually do have some lung constrictions.
Some people claim that exercising with a mask also makes them lightheaded. Social media users have done their own experiments with a pulse oximeter clipped to a finger. They've claimed blood oxygen levels in the low 90s when they wear a mask while exercising. Carol says it's possible, but oxygen levels have to be lower than 90 to be dangerous.
I wouldn't be overly worried about low 90s under those circumstances, recognizing you're exercising hard, you've given yourself constraint. In fact, there are people who have what I think they're called exercise masks, which are specifically designed to make it more difficult for you to breathe in order to increase your aerobic capacity. Now, that's a different kind of mask. In fact, at my gym, I've seen football players wear them, and, God bless them, wearing them on a Stairmaster, with the idea that, yes, this does constrain my breathing. It gets me out of breath faster, and it forces me to adjust more. I mean, I think what they're after is the same sort of thing as like training at high altitude, where perhaps you're trying to force your aerobic capacity by making it more difficult to breathe in that way. But no, those masks exist. That's an internet lookup question, but they exist.
Restricting your breathing on purpose is one thing, but for most people wearing a cloth mask, too little oxygen and too much carbon dioxide shouldn't be issues. If you feel like it's hard to breathe or you're getting lightheaded, it's likely that your mask is too tight. To do its job, it's okay to have a free flow of air on the top and bottom. You can find out more about all our guests on our website, radiohealthjournal.org. Our studio producer is Jason Dickey. I'm Nancy Benson.
Radio Health Journal returns in just a moment.
Chances are you or someone you know is struggling with an addiction. And just like most things in life, if you ignore it, it won't go away. The truth of the matter is, if you want to reclaim your life, you need help. That's why you need to call the National Recovery Center sooner than later. We can't help unless you're ready to be helped. You need to want a better life. You need to want to stop the downward, out-of-control spiral you've been on. You need to make a conscious effort and take control. Our programs are designed to provide you with the care and support you need. Every person is treated with a unique treatment plan designed specifically for you, regardless of what stage of addiction you're in. Don't let the pain of addiction ruin your life. Call 800-971-5781. That's 800-971-5781. 800-971-5781.
And that's Radio Health Journal for this week. Radio Health Journal is a production of MediaTrax Communications. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more. And check Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify for a library of past programs. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and information about our guests at radiohealthjournal.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Radio Health Journal.
Coming up next week on Radio Health Journal.
They said to me, you're just really lucky that you're not dead. And I think that was the moment when I decided that I really wanted to change. I really wanted to go to rehab.
Autism and substance abuse.
Then tracing the contacts of people with COVID-19. How far can we go?
Does walking by someone in the grocery store constitute a contact, or do you really have to have some sort of interaction with them?
All that and more on Radio Health Journal.